This is the final word. Australia, West Indies, daily, day 3, Adelaide Oval. Bharat Sundaresan, Jeff Lemonpaw, CB Super.
CBUS?
CBUS Super. CBUS Super.
Fine, that's fine.
CB, yeah.
You got the first 2 letters right, and that's that is 50% of success, right? As Bon Jovi said, you're halfway there. And
Yeah, you know what? They also do say past performance, not a reliable indicator for future performance.
That's true.
And my performance yesterday was much better than what
it was much
today.
better,
So,
even when you
go.
didn't think you were supposed to be introducing the show.
That is
and then
also
you were.
correct.
But today you are, which means I'm going to do
Yes,
the
indeed.
day's play in 30 seconds, which is easy because it went for about an hour and a half. West Indies resumed 22 runs behind with 4 wickets in hand. Josh De Silva hooked one down a fine leg and got caught. A few runs from the tail, some nice shots there. Both the Josephs and Kemar Roach whacked a few boundaries each, but they were soon out. 25 runs in front, so Australia needed 26 to win. They duly got them 10 wickets down, except we're not without complication because Usman Khawaja got whacked in the jaw by a bouncer and he might be in some trouble for the next test. Australia win by 10 wickets. Shall we start at the end?
I think we should. I mean, that was a pretty scary blow.
It was ugly.
Yeah.
And it was Shamar Joseph who'd come on to bowl, hadn't been given the newest of the new balls, but got brought on after a couple of overs. And he bowled one really searing delivery that zipped past the outside edge, squared up Khadawja. He was turning his shoulders around, his back foot came around, and he fenced at it, and he nearly nicked it. And then the next one was horrible, and he was stranded. You could see Khadawja freeze up. He saw the short ball.
Yeah.
He thought about ducking it. He thought about playing it. He thought about fending. And in the end, he just sort of braced for impact and turned his head away. And because he turned his head, he got it right on the jaw. Don't know what the medical prognosis is. It looked to me like he was spitting out blood on the field. I thought it looked like there was darker saliva coming out. He wasn't knocked out. He stayed on his feet. He was holding his jaw. The doctor came out and spoke to him for quite some time. They took him off in the end. Scores were level at that point, so there was nothing to be gained by staying on. Labuschagne came out and pulled the single that they needed to win, but Khadawja being hit, I mean, as I understand it, the Australian concussion protocols, if you get deemed to have been concussed, then you need to wait 7 days before you're eligible to play.
But he's already passed his first concussion test,
Right.
which is very good news. So
But it's often delayed.
It is delayed. So no, that doesn't mean anything though. It's not a reliable indicator of future performance. So or in terms of his concussion, so he'll have to get another test done. He's gone off for scans on the jaw. Yeah, it was a proper like an uppercut, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And Usman Khawaja does play the short ball in that fashion quite often. He kind of gets into that position and he keeps his eye on the ball, but then moves away at the last minute. But this time the ball also was coming from around the wicket, wasn't he? Shamar Joseph kept following him, and he just kind of locked himself with that right shoulder. So he looked like he was spitting blood, and you could see some of the West Indians as well were pretty concerned early on.
Joseph himself, he had his hand over his mouth and looked quite perturbed, and you felt for him that it's this cognitive dissonance of cricket, right? That you're a fast bowler, you run in, you bowl bouncers, they're supposed to intimidate players with the threat of being hit, but unless you're a real nutcase, you don't actually want to hit anyone. You don't want to. Well, maybe you want to hit them to startle them, but you don't want to injure anybody. And so there's the kind of sickening reality of it when that actually does happen. And we've talked about it over the years on the show. There's no clear answer to it, right? You sort of ban the bouncer forever, and then you change the game irrevocably. So I don't know. It's not like there's an easy answer to it. Some people say it's simple and you just get rid of short bowling, but then cricket's a different game entirely. So in a way, you just have to accept that cognitive dissonance, that there is something that you want to threaten without ever actually following through on the threat.
Yeah, but the whole point is you use the bouncer to intimidate, and you use the bouncer as an enforcing act. It is an enforcing
If you can't bowl
act.
the short ball, players don't get out to the full ball.
Exactly, yeah, you're setting someone up. So, and when you're bowling with that hard a ball, and you are technically aiming to hit the batter or kind of get the ball just above their shoulder, the only thing you can hit, the only target is the head and the helmet, and that's why the helmet is so important. And Shamar Joseph did get hit on day one, but that was on the grill. So it also kind of tells you, despite the helmet, it depends on where you get hit and which part of your face or your head gets impacted. So he has a few days to get, and Pat Cummins was asked about it. He said, like, you can kind of rush in, you can do 2 concussion tests in the same day, because he has to pass all the tests to be deemed fit. as we saw with Glenn Maxwell during the World Cup for different circumstances, or in different circumstances anyway.
Yeah, he had to miss the game against England and was only able to come back against Afghanistan because he had to sit out a certain number of days, no matter how he was feeling at that point, which is sensible given the lasting effects concussions can have and the danger it poses if you get concussed a second time. When you're already suffering the effects from it, that's when it's at its most dangerous. So that's the situation. There'll be a watching brief on that. Australia could change the squad. They had Renshaw as the spare bat for here, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he would play as an opener. They could bring in Bancroft. I'm sure there'll be a discussion around it, particularly if Renshaw is preferred to play in Brisbane. It'll be a hometown test for him, and the Western Australian small group of unreasonable Western Australians who were annoyed that Cameron Green played, in place of a Western Australian being a Western Australian, who somehow found that an insult to their state that a player from their state had been chosen. Would be
senior Cameron on Brisbane.
They'll be especially riled up if there is a spot available in Brisbane. But we'll keep an eye on that. The short ball also, in a different way, did for Joshua De Silva, which was, God, that was frustrating.
It was.
We like Josh De Silva on this show.
Yeah.
He bats with a Woodstock, and we're big fans of that. You can get 20% off one, TFW 20. That's
but
the
do
code.
not use it like Joshua De Silva used it in this test match. That's all I'd say.
Woodstockcricket.co.uk, I think, is the website. Yeah. The hook shot out to it, caught for 6 in the first innings, deep square leg, and then again this innings, he talked a good game last night about wanting to go out there and fight for West Indies. And I'm like, great. That's good. Maybe do that by not playing the same shot that got you out in the first innings when you've got 2 players out catching and you've got a really good fast bowling attack that gets excessive bounce and you can't gauge the bounce. Just get out the way of a few. Like, if Mitchell Starc wants to bump you for 6 overs, duck him, get out the way,
you have
get
all
him
the time in
tired.
the world,
yeah, you've got time. Let him puff, let him blow out all his energy, and then instead he plays the hook shot down to Hazlewood, caught a fine leg. And that was pretty much it, because he's the one who had to make a score for West Indies to try to get to a lead of 100 or so and hope that they could produce a miracle.
Yeah, Alzari Joseph looked okay at the other end. He kept flashing outside off stump, but you knew it was just a matter of time. And as soon as Starc went around the wicket, the ball kept getting closer and closer to the outside edge. He just tried a wild swing. The ball flew over the slips.
He tried to baseball it over mid-on.
It was almost like
a top leading edge over second slip for 4. It was an extraordinary shot.
It was. I mean, he initially shaped to hit it over deep mid-wicket. Then he was like, I remember seeing that clip of Virat Kohli against Hardisroff that we've all seen a million times. And he wanted to try that shot. Right. But as it happened, it flew over the slips for 4. Next ball, again, in the same channel, slightly fuller. Edges, gets out. Gurukesh Moti, not a great test match for him. Plays a pretty shit shot to get out in the first innings. Looked very ineffective. Craig Brathwaite clearly did not have any confidence in him. He kept throwing the ball to Justin Graves, who did bowl well. Yep. And then it's one of the, they always say good leave, bad leave. This is one of the more ridiculous leaves I've ever seen. Like, it's a right-arm fast bowler who always around the wicket, who. What has he done all his life, Josh Hazlewood? Hits top off.
Unless he's bowling to an 11 and trying to take his head off.
That is correct. And it's a length ball on off stump. Where do you think that ball's going to go but to hit?
Yeah, it didn't seam in. No, it wasn't. It wasn't the one to South Shaquille, was it? The one in Melbourne that did plenty off the seam. It was just straight. It was from wide of the crease. It was angled in at the stumps, and Moti shouldered arms and watched his castle get knocked over. And then there was a nice little partnership of 25, was it?
Yeah.
26 between Roach and S. Joseph. And that's what the crowd wanted. They wanted Shamar Joseph to come out. He skipped out. He said before play he was looking forward to batting today. He said, we can do something. We can give ourselves a chance here. Well, they were still 1 run behind. They could have lost by an innings.
They could have, absolutely.
Hazlewood pitches up, first ball, steps forward. Beautiful, crisp cover drive for 4. West Indies in the lead.
West Indies in the league, and it had to be him, right? And you're right, I think it's safe to say he's been the second most popular cricketer during this entire test match after obviously Travis Head. Even today, yes, Josh Hazlewood had just picked up his 5th wicket with the previous delivery, the one of Moti, and he was holding the ball up, so the Adelaide Oval crowd was already cheering. We will speak about the crowd in a minute. And as soon as they saw Shamar Joseph run out, who they've adopted, like they adopted me many years ago, there was a loud cheer. The loud cheer just continued and got louder. And he, plays that shot to get off the mark. make sure that, and okay, I think I'll leave it for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's this beautiful shot he plays, and then he kept taking them on, and he tried hitting Josh Hazlewood over mid-wicket again, missed, and then like in the first innings, all it took was Nathan Lyon to come in.
Yep.
2 balls later, he had him stumped.
Well, look, he drove that beautiful shot over mid-off for 4. He pulled one through mid-wicket for 4, so he hit 3 boundaries. Roach hit a couple. Caressed a cover drive, like the least follow-through of a cover drive, like the anti-Brian Lara. He just got forward and put the bat there and it sped away. So he hit a couple of boundaries as well, a square drive too for him. There was so little cricket today that we can list literally every boundary that
We pretty much can,
yeah.
it could be a boundary package. Yeah.
And like you said, the confidence from Shamar Joseph was maybe brought him undone when Lyon came on. He faced one ball from Lyon and then said, I'll gallop down and smack this. It was so far too short to play that shot. It was pitched way in front of him. Turned away, he tried to get back to it, couldn't. 11 stumpings for Alex Carey in 11 months. He didn't have one until Delhi, was it?
Delhi without Kohli, yeah. I mean, I was keeping count, wasn't I? And we had a deal that he would point to me when he got the first stumping. He couldn't because India were just on the cusp of winning a test match. So a test match that Australia should have won.
Seemed a bit
odd.
on the nose if you've been carrying on a
pretty
big
much
celebration.
Yeah. So on average, he's taken a stumping per month
One
since
per
that
month.
point. That's very good.
Yeah, you could do a calendar. You could do an Alex Carey stumpings calendar.
A very good idea.
With a picture of each stumping.
Yeah.
Here's Mr. July.
Oh.
Now, I don't know if he's recreating them, maybe shirtless.
Yeah,
I think that would be a big seller. Or if they're original shots of the actual stumping. So maybe a side-by-side kind of situation.
You don't know what that one stumping also will be in it.
Which one?
The one
the
from
Kohli one.
Yeah, no, the Johnny Bairstow one.
The Johnny Bairstow. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, true.
that
is part of the calendar. I wonder. Shirts on or shirts off for that one. Kohli doesn't mind getting the shirt off. When he posts his training pictures, reclining on the field. Yeah, just ran a 17.2 beat test, shirt off. I'm doing 9-minute laps of the tan or whatever. Right. So all of that happened, and then Australia come out to bat. Smith, 11 not out. Dinks a couple off his pads. 4 no balls, defending 25 runs. Come on, guys, sort your stuff out. And then, that's about it. He hit one big cover drive, Smith, and then Khawaja gets clocked. Labuschagne finishes it off. That's that.
No, except the fact that it was disappointed that Craig Brathwaite didn't read the room.
Oh, Craig.
The crowd wanted to see one thing.
Let him bowl. Give him the new ball. He gives Kemar and Alzari Joseph the new ball. And only for a couple of overs, but by then it was too late. If you give Shamar Joseph 25 runs to defend, maybe he gets a wicket for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe you get in Steve Smith's head.
He did
maybe
beat his back.
He nearly nicked one, Smith.
Yeah.
The second ball he'd faced from Shamar Joseph, he walked across and played at a line he shouldn't have played and yanked the bat back inside at the last minute. Craig,
come on.
The room. You're in the entertainment business. All right, it's time for the Final Word Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame, where we talk about the most final word moments of the day. Brought to you by CBUS Super, which could also be CB Super, I suppose. Maybe if you're a trucker on the radio. Breaker, this is CB Super. 1, 2.
Maybe it was just a nod to the cricket website I write for.
Maybe
it was.
Yeah,
Good
CB.
stuff out there.
True. That is their logo. Look, you can. One thing I know about CBUS is you can get very good insurance through them if you have any problems, if you're injured at work, things like that. They've been looking after their members in that way for 40 years. Their 40th birthday this year. Lots of other benefits. cbussuper.com.au.
Yeah, I mean, if Usman Khawaja happens to you at work, whatever the comparative thing is, they'll look after you.
They'll look after you. Past performance not a reliable indicator of future performance. Now, let's see. What have we got? So I've got one to throw in to begin with. I really liked... Brendan Julian was doing the post-match presentation, and as they went to a break, he very, very carefully enunciated an important note that Australia, with this win, have retained the Frank Worrell Trophy. He was very careful to get that right. You might remember in 2015 when he did the trophy presentation and awarded the Wank Worrell Trophy.
Oh, yes.
So it was clearly in the back of his mind. Well done, BJ. You got that one
right. For me, Steve Smith. For most parts of this morning, especially when West Indies lost a couple of wickets at second slip, what was he doing? Practicing his golf swing. As soon, literally the moment Shamar Joseph hit that ball through the covers for 4, what does he do? Starts practicing his front foot defense. So he just went from golf swing to bat swing in the space of 15 minutes, or not even 15 minutes, 8 or 9 minutes. So that's classic Steve Smith getting into his zone.
Apparently he's a hideous golfer as well.
Yeah, I know. I've heard that as well. And not the best musician, because Travis Head spoke to us on radio this morning, and we were talking about what people could do, and that that's a perfect segue to talk about the wonderful crowd we had, because the bars are open till 7. There's still a lot of people lounging around. And what about that crowd? 18,000 people nearly came to watch today.
Yeah, I thought it was 16 and they
I
gave us
think
the official number at 16 and a half.
Oh, was it?
I
Like,
think.
yeah, I'm just
Maybe a few more came in
biased
afterwards. I
to
don't
the
know.
city. Yeah.
It's just pumping up the numbers.
That's what you do in
Nonetheless,
wrestling
it was
and
just
in India.
just over 50,000 for the first 2 days. So they got 66,000 minimum, including 16,000 or 18,000 coming in today when they knew that there might have been 15 minutes of play.
Yeah.
It could have been 4 wickets in quarter of an hour and it was all over, and people still rocked up, which I think is pretty amazing. And like we've talked about, annoying for them that the match ended on a Friday. I'm told that that was because the schedule was compressed because there was a date that the Windies team had to be out of the country to do whatever they've got to do next. And they've got a one-day series and a T20 series. So they've got a one-day on a Friday and a Sunday, and then a T20 on a Friday and a Sunday. And I think if they'd pushed this Brisbane test back by a day, that would have meant you'd only get one of those. You'd have one Saturday game, so instead of having 2 weekend games, you'd have one.
Yeah.
And so there is a reason for it. It's just that this is, you kind of start at the end and work backwards, and this is where it got squeezed up to. It still sucks.
Yeah, it does. And speaking of scheduling, I don't know whether it's you've realized this yet. This could well be the last day test in Adelaide. I mean, maybe there might be another one down the road, because we know the next 2 seasons, I think next 3 summers are sorted. It'll go back to being a day-night test.
Yep.
Will we ever have a red ball test again in Adelaide? I don't know. This could be history in the making. We could well be doing this final word daily for the last ever red ball day test match in Adelaide.
That's a very wet Wednesday on Stoke kind of thing. Right. Anything else? Anything Hall of Fame worthy?
No, well, I think what else was there? Something did stand out to me. Oh, this was more sweet, and we've started with Shamar Joseph. Let's just end with him.
We just talked about Shamar Joseph all of the first 3 days, which is what you do because the West Indies are so bad.
That's correct.
That you can only take the one good news story they've got, and
just
Kirk McKenzie making 50 in the first innings.
That's great. He was good.
That's all
he
they've
made
got.
20 odd, but no, it was nice. Like the way he spoke about Steve Smith. We were there in the press conference 2 days ago. So today, after he was done with his radio interviews and everything, he walked to Steve Smith, took a picture with him, and then walked to Nathan Lyon. I mean, then just tells you like he's still this young kid from a village far away. He can't believe he's playing test cricket with these guys. So it was nice to see him. Oh, and not to forget, now he's got 2 test batters with over an average of 50 having tied his shoelaces. Did you see I picked out Steve Smith from second slip? There was Alex Carey. Okay, he had the wicket-keeping gloves on. Usman Khawaja and Steve Smith. He said, no, I want you to come and tie my shoelaces. So Manas and Steve, not a bad start for him, not just as test scalps, but also guys who've tied the shoelaces.
Did Smith tape the shoelaces to the inside of his shoe like he does with his own shoelaces?
He should have. I didn't see that, actually. Good point.
Should have been the touch. All right, that's enough from us. The final word, Australia, West Indies Daily. It's day 3 and done in Adelaide. We'll have the show coming to you from Brisbane as well. A day-night test up there. Pink ball affair up in the tropics where the cane toads are taking over the world. We'll have that and more. What have we got? We've got a story time coming up that we're doing live in Adelaide tonight. If you're seeing this and you're in Adelaide and you want to come down to the Arkabar, am I pronouncing that correctly? Very good. Got the nod from behind the camera. And we'll be there from 7:30 p.m. doing a live story time. That's free. Come down, have a beer, have a water, watch the show. We'll tell you some stories, and that'll be published on the feed as well over the weekend. There'll be the weekly show coming up. Whatever else we've got to do before we get to the the next test match,
25th. Yeah.
All right, and if you're in Sydney, 26th of January, the final word 11.
Oh yeah, please get there. Captain by Jeff Lemon.
Oval, come on down. That's it. Final word daily. Bharat Sundaresh and Jeff Lemon. We'll see you next time.